Okay, so I'm on my way home right now, and I am currently on I-75 south, heading towards Atlanta. I was just in Tennessee, and on my way back, I've been catching up on Pete Quinones. Pete, if you somehow hear this, I apologize if I mispronounce your last name. But I've been catching up on his last few episodes, and I just listened to the one with John Doyle. And before the one with John Doyle, I listened to the one well, I know the one with John was a few days ago, but I don't know this is the one after or before it, but I listened to it before the John Doyle episode. He had that the one female on. I can't remember her name off the top of my head. And Pete made an excellent point towards the end of that podcast about how she was putting thoughts that he had that he couldn't articulate into words. And she was just making it, she was making it seem so easy the way she was, the words she was using and what she was saying. And that's actually how I feel when it comes to, this all the politics and everything that's been going on in the past couple of years, because, the prior, the 12, 13 years leading up to when the COVID pandemic happened, I was all sports, basketball coach, teacher, I was always in the gym. I've been coaching for a long time, and, at all levels, high school, college level. And you put me on a basketball court at a practice or game or just whatever, and I can speak things so clearly, so crisply. I know exactly what I'm going to say. I know how to say it. I know all the terminology. And up until 2 years ago, I knew nothing about politics. I mean, literally nothing. I knew some history, but it just it was an interest to me, but not really. And but the one thing that I can say is that I have a functioning brain, and I have common sense, and I take nothing at face value. I've never taken anything at face value. And I knew about 2 seconds in to when COVID, hit the United States. It took me about 2 seconds to realize that there was something odd. This was bullshit. And to this very day, I'm not vaccinated. I haven't put on a mask for one flipping second. And I made it a point to purposefully not comply with any of the guidelines that were put in place. And so, and then so I just kind of started doing my own research and whatnot, because it took me about 2 weeks into the COVID to realize that, Fox was full of shit. All mainstream media was full of shit. And I really just took it upon myself to, do my own research, rely on people that, I'm close with, and I value their opinion, and they know more than me when it comes to politics, history, and whatnot. And so, kind of fast forward to today, and I'm sure I've mentioned this before, but I've just really have, dove deep into history that, we're not taught, and things that, public education, the media, how they kind of give you a bias. They want you to think certain things or, to feel certain ways about different people throughout history. And and so then we get to the Russia-Ukraine thing. And so here's something else. I didn't really know much about Putin. I've heard things about him, but I never really paid attention. But, I remember watching Fox News the morning. Well, it was the morning here in the States when, the invasion officially took place. And I just flipped on Fox News just to see what they were saying, just to kind of hear what was going on. And I'll never forget how just Fox News was all in on, Putin bad guy, poor Ukrainians, and it was just it was believable, but it was really eye-opening. And so you dig into kind of the background, you do your research on what's going on, the history of it all, and you realize why this is happening. And so I get to this podcast today with John Doyle, and I'm listening to it. He's on Pete's episode, or he's on Pete's show, and everything he's saying is exactly every thought that I've had. He was saying things that, I try to say, and I can't get it out cleanly or how I want to say it. Just like what Pete said on his one episode about the one girl, how she was speaking things so clearly and making it seem so simple, the words she was using, and how she was translating her thoughts into words. And so I get done with the episode, and I immediately, subscribe to John's YouTube channel. And sure enough, the very first episode at the top of his playlist was, the one on how, the whole Putin and Russia-Ukraine war there, how it's completely wrong. And I'm telling you right now, this is probably one of the best shows. I'm not even done with it. I stopped about 45 minutes in to record this while I'm driving. And it's unbelievable how, first off, he's hilarious. And second off, he's dead on with everything. I mean, and he makes it so, the clarity he speaks with is unbelievable. And it makes complete sense. And it's just, man, I had to get on here and give a shout out. And I know I rambled a little bit, but I'm going to get back to the last 45, 50 minutes of the episode. But I just wanted to put this out there. I want to add on to the clip I just put out there that the very first thing I watched on Putin once the war started was, and I don't think you can find it, and I wish I would have downloaded it or screen recorded the entire 4 hours, but it was on YouTube on one, I think, of Russia Insight or something like that before it got blocked. And I haven't been able to find it, not even on the Russia Insight page on Rumble or anywhere else. But it was the 4-hour interview. I believe it was 4 hours. It was a 2-part interview. I think it was 2 and 2 hours that he had with Megyn Kelly, I believe back in 2016 or 2018. And that entire interview compared to, the clips or the small portions they showed here in the United States was a huge eye-opener to me. And the things that he said and the questions that he answered, and how that was cut up and diced up, when they showed it here in the States, even though at the time when they showed it here in 2018 or 2016, I had no idea about it. But anyways, and so from that point on, I just started going back and watching everything I could find on Putin, interviews, speaking events that he did, and it was just extremely eye-opening. So if you happen to hear this and you don't know that much about it, you haven't researched it much, or you're more curious about it and you want to learn more, I highly suggest just diving deep and, going to Rumble or wherever you can just to find just past interviews and speeches that he's given. And it really puts this whole thing into perspective, I think, and really does not fit the image and the narrative that our media wants you to think and believe about him. And I know this for a fact, too, that I know some Russian professional basketball players, and I've had some conversations with this about them. Obviously, it's translated because they've been in Russia their entire lives, and they love the guy. And I know his approval rating is, 81, 83%, and it's easy to see why. So I just wanted to throw that out there.